Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I'm doing something kind of interesting. I'm going to give my take on trying to kind of rebalance some of the carry items. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 carry items here for today's video that I want to try to go through and give an explanation on how I would try to rebalance them, make them a little bit better. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not a game dev, and I actually don't really know how to balance items. Now, I have an idea of what a balanced item would look like, or what I would like to see changed on the items, but the thing that trumps me, and this is I would love for a dev to chime in on this, or like, I know a dev might watch this video, the thing that trumps me is how do you associate everything on an item, the passives, the stats, everything that it is, with the cost. That's the hardest part. So, for the sake of the video, I have to say I didn't change the cost on any of these because I actually, the beauty of being a dev is that when you've touched all this stuff so much, you kind of really know the implications of some of these actions, and I actually don't. So definitely speaking from a bit of ignorance, like I said, for the sake of saying, I definitely don't think this is 100% the solution to any of the carry issues, but I do think that carry items are incredibly overtuned and at least kind of designed in a way that's a little bit funky to me, so I wanted to tackle one of the big issues, which is covering some of the passives and the items that I think are just generally problematic, but mostly surrounding the crit stat line, the critical crit chance stat line. So let's go ahead and dive into it and let's see what we got here. So taking a look at Demolisher, so you can see the original on the left is 45 physical power, 25% crit chance, and then it has the decisive strike and bore passive, whereas my version, I have striked through the crit chance and I have changed it from 25% to 20% crit chance. Again, this is I'm not touching any of the costs, so I'm going to leave that alone for the sake of simplicity. All of this obviously is subject to change because these are concepts, but what I'm trying to do, and what you're going to see a big theme of this video, is I'm trying to vary the critical strike chance, and this is going to allow for builds to be a bit more restrictive because now you have to sacrifice and actually spend your 5th item slot to reach 100% crit and just nerf and change some of the items in general. So Demolisher, not really a huge issue of an item, but since it's inherently like a critical strike focused item because of the decisive strike passive, I actually left it a little bit on the high end with 20% critical strike. All right, the next item we have is Dust Devil. Now, Dust Devil is not really a problematic item, but for the sake of what I'm trying to achieve here, I do need to change it up a little bit. So realistically, whenever you're looking at an item like this, I actually do think that the cost of this would have to come down, but again, I didn't touch that for now. But what I have done is I've taken the item exactly how it is, and I've reduced the critical strike chance from 25% down to 15%. I found that in my balancing with the way that I did it, I wasn't able to have any items at 25%, so I have a variety of items at 20, 15, and 10% that you'll see for critical strike chance. So that's my change to Dust Devil. Now, the next item on the list is Imperator. Now, this is obviously the big crit item, and so what you can see here with Imperator, this is meant to be the big power spike for the critical strike build. You have the precision critical strike deals 15% more damage, and instead of a measly 25% crit, I wanted to up that to something like 40% critical strike chance. So this is a very big moment for the carry in the game where they get a very big power spike on the basis of crit, but the item doesn't actually have that much power. I've cut it down to 35 physical power as opposed to 60, so that way the item has its very niche focus and you're not power spiking too hard off of one purchase, but you are getting a very big buy. Now, I kind of liken this a little bit to Oblivion Crown, so I would actually imagine that maybe 3,400 gold or 3,600 gold would be good, but again, not really touching on the gold values too much because I'm not very good and smart at the implications of knowing what exactly that would look like. So, yeah, in general, I think that this is what I would like to see for this item. Now, next on the list, we have Lightning Hawk. Lightning Hawk, actually, I think a pretty decently balanced item, but again, I did need to make changes in order to fit the outline that I was going for with the critical strike chance build and kind of the path to reaching 100%. So we have 50 physical power, 20% attack speed, same as usual, and then I've just striked through that 25% crit chance and lowered it to 15% crit. Again, I found that I couldn't actually leave Imperator as strong as I wanted to make it, being a carry like critical strike chance power spike, without nerfing some of the critical strike chance on all the other items. And since all the items are really, really good, this kind of tones down that linear progression of stat increases for the critical strike chance intentionally. So it actually kind of slows down the gain of strength for carries, but then as they get further and further in their builds, they become very, very strong, become, you know, a little bit more online. So that's Lightning Hawk. Next, we have Tainted Rounds. Now, Tainted Rounds is actually a phenomenal item. I actually don't think it's overpowered, but again, I needed to divvy up the percentages a little bit. So I was trying to be a little bit meticulous with where I wanted to put, say, the 15%, the 20%, and the 15% critical strike chance. I did need the majority of the items to come down to 10% critical strike chance in order to fit this model. So I just decided to make Tainted Rounds 10% crit chance. I didn't actually bump the power on this, but now that I'm looking at it, maybe I should. Maybe I should bump this up to like 40 physical power, 35 physical power to kind of compensate a little bit, because I don't think that this is a problem item, but I do think that it's a very good item, and it could easily be one of the extra items that you get, because you know that whenever you're building a critical strike chance build with this kind of physical or like this kind of carry model that I've made, the way that I'm trying to kind of plot out the critical strike chance, you're gonna need some 10% anyways. So this is like a good item to add to your build, whether it's early on or later. That's up to you, depending on if you are valuing high percentage critical strike chance or if you are valuing the passive on the item. So again, I probably could have compensated this with a little bit more power, but semantics, right? I don't know. And next we have Terminus. Now, Terminus for me personally is a huge problem item. I think that it is doing way too much at 25% critical strike chance and really, really strong passive, really strong power, and really great lifesteal. This also became a 10% critical strike chance. This felt perfect to me. Whereas on Tainted Rounds, I wouldn't mind giving a little bit more value to the item via, giving it a little bit more physical power. This for Terminus feels a little bit better to me. 25% critical strike chance on an item that spikes this strong in power, like giving you sustain, giving you damage, and giving you crit. I just don't think we can have that. So decided to make this one of the 10% critical strike chances as well. And moving on, we have Vanquisher, another massively overtuned item in my opinion, but I do like what Vanquisher is going for. I do think that bumping up the Annihilate passive to 7% was a mistake, so I've kind of struck through that and I've pulled that back down to 5%, the way that it was whenever it was like an assassin item. But again, same thing, I can't actually allow any of the items in this model to be 25% critical strike chance, so because I'm nerfing the passive, I went on ahead and made Vanquisher a very powerful spike item. This would still probably be a second pickup in most builds that are aiming for critical strike chance, because you're going to get a lot of value out of it. You get a great Annihilate passive at 5% of their maximum health, 20% critical strike chance, high power, and pen. So this is a really, really strong item, but I'm pulling it down some. And that's crazy to imagine that even with my nerfed version, it's still really, really strong in my opinion, but I do want to pull it down some to make it fit the model a little bit more of trying to reach 100% crit in 5 items while having to sacrifice, that 5th slot for, something else that you'd be able to get. And I believe last but not least, we have Viper. Viper, another incredibly overtuned item in my opinion, and this actually speaks for all the corrode items. I think corrode is too strong. I was talking to a buddy Mew Mews about it a little bit. I do just generally think that corrode needs to come down in its reduction of physical armor percentage. So I pulled that down to 3%. It maybe could be 4%. I'm not really sure. But again, to fit the model, I don't think that this item can have all of these stats, a crazy passive, and have 25% crit chance. So I pulled this down into the 15% crit chance range. So essentially, in order to hit 100% crit chance, you have to use all 5 of your item slots, and that means that you're not able to have a 5th item or a 5th item slot that is going to be slotted for something else, right? And that makes the carry a little bit weaker, because you either sacrifice yourself at 85% crit chance, 75% crit chance with like another sustain item, like say like Kingsbane or something, or Sky Splitter for percentage HP rip, or you push yourself all the way to that 100% crit, a little bit over 100% crit depending on what items you take, which is fine. It would just be like slightly wasted crit chance, and you actually have that build online. So this is a way to nerf some of the carry items, rebalance the carry items to force them to be a little bit less in strength in terms of their actual curve to power, but hopefully without butchering the items. And again, this is all concept, so any of this could change. I think that designing the items the way that I've designed them from the stat lines and the passive lines feels fine to me. It's the cost that I'm a little uncomfortable with, because like I said, I don't know, do I need to change the cost? Probably, but I don't really know how to design around that, so I essentially didn't. So definitely coming from a place of ignorance, but I wanted to share my thoughts on how you can actually carry or are, build out some of these carry items without them just feeling overly bloated and feeling way too linear, because that was the problem we had before. The items were essentially just doing way too much and they were bloated with stats, and the same thing is happening, they just changed them up a little bit. So like again, looking at Viper specifically, man, this item is bloated. It's super bloated, so I just wanted to pull it down a little bit. So friends, leave me a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you are subscribed, drop a like on the video, subscribe for future Predecessor content, and be sure to be kind of tell some of you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.